So now that we have this functionality set up, how about we create a user profile view now? So we could put this entire thing inside the settings view instead. So the users can sign out from there, and the user profile view would actually show the profile of the user. Just like in the other social media apps you see. Generally they either direct you to the home feed or the profile feed. So we are going with the profile view. So we go here and there's our views folder. We do command N, we select Swift UI view and we name it user profile my bad view. Let's click on create. So once this is done, let's just give it a basic template for now, because we would anyways be going back and forth on this view and we have to make a lot of UI improvements here. So let's add our view model first. It should be an observed object view model of the type main view model, and let's give it a Z stack. Now we could give it color, which would be UI color dot yellow. Now we create a vertical stack and we can have a navigation link here because we want to direct users to our settings view from our user profile view. So we would select this one, basically the value and the label one. And okay, I think this enter should have worked, but anyways, we can have something like this, and here we could add label. Now we would add main view, the view model. Let's pass in our view model. For the label, we will keep it simple. We would use some SF symbols here. So we would use system name and it would be gear dot circle. So that basically represents that settings logo icon, you could say. We could give it a font weight of bold, and then we can have a foreground color of black, let's say, and we could have a font size of large title. Let's just give it a frame. So in order for this button to like appear on the top left of the screen, we should give it a maximum width which would be of infinity, and the alignment should actually be leading. So leading means this side of the screen, and this is the trailing part. And obviously let's give it some padding so that it looks all good. And for now let's add a spacer below it because we don't have other UI elements to push the view up. So let's add a spacer with a frame of 100. So I think it should appear right in the middle of the screen as of now. And we could add another element which says hello world. We don't really have to give it some modifiers for now, and let's obviously do ignore safe area so that the color appears throughout the screen. And let's just go to the main view now. We right click here, we go to refactor, rename, and just change it to settings view now. Settings view. Okay, coming back to our user profile view, now that we have added this much functionality, it says cannot find settings view in scope. Not very sure about it. No, I mean shift command K, replace. It's because settings view is defined right here, so I find it unconvincing that we cannot have, yeah, we have settings view. view model, view model. We can remove this. Hopefully, let's just copy this out. We go to our core of the app, and instead of settings view, we will add user profile view. So I just wanted to show you one thing that I noticed while developing. So basically what happens is that now that we have added one extra layer of navigation between the settings view and the main view, so what happens is that now when the view is authenticated or sorts, it would land us to our main view. But then if we want to sign out, we would actually have to go all the way inside settings view and then sign out from here. So will it actually dismiss the view and show us the auth view? That's my question to you. What do you think about it? We could try out. Right now we are signed out. So if I click on the settings view and I click on sign out, nothing really happens. What about if we go back? Did you notice that? So what is happening is that our Firebase functionality is working. It is signing out the user, but we are not actually dismissing back to the auth view. And I think that's a bug in our app right now. So how can we actually go about fixing this? So for that, I was just working around a number of implementations, and one of them is what I found is that instead of handling it like this here, what we could do is inside this struct itself, we could create a custom view with the help of a view builder, and it would be a private function current view which would return us some view, and it would have the same check that if view model dot is authenticated, so basically it has the same thing here. We can cut this out, paste this here. Now that our current view is built, we could use the current view, call this function right here. Then what else do we need to do here? So you would notice that even if you do this, we have not actually changed any implementation as of now, because we have just created a custom view using the view builder modifier, and we just added it here, making the whole code look a bit concise, but not really a change in the functionality wise. For that purpose, I just wanted to deep dive into how does a stack view actually works. So a stack view, not a stack view, I meant a navigation stack. So what it does is that it actually assigns an ID to every single view, and that's how it defines or it identifies how is which view present and at what time. So for that, let's just create a UUID, which would be called root view ID. So basically it gives this initializer gives us a unique identifier, and that is what we are using here. And here we would actually inject this into the navigation stack, and we will call this root view ID. So what it does is that it resets the view hierarchy, because each time we go back to the core of the app, it assigns it a new unique identifier ID, and thus it is different from the last time. So you could leave a comment here that it resets the view hierarchy. And what about the spelling of hierarchy? I think it's this. What else do we need to do? So actually we would have an on receive modifier, and this on receive modifier only works on a publisher. And if you remember correctly, our is authenticated variable is actually a published property, so we could use it as a publisher. So what we do is now we write view model dot is authenticated. So we are observing this publisher. Let's add parentheses across it, and I think we could totally just add a trailing closure here. Now it would give us some is authenticated value, Okay, so it is actually giving me an error, which is why, because I have not added a dollar sign, so it does not read it as a published property. So now that we have done this much, we would actually check if this value, this boolean value that we are getting, if in the sense it is false, that means we could print out that user is signed out, resetting the view hierarchy. And I think the spelling is wrong. And what we would do is that we would assign root view ID a new UUID. I think it's triple U. So yep. Now let's see if this functionality works and it actually fixes our problem. Coming back to our code, we would actually try signing in again, and now we could see that if this thing solves our problem, the issue at hand. So meanwhile, while I was developing this course, I actually thought of implementing the coordinator pattern as well. What it essentially does is that it allows you to use the UIKit based navigation for Swift UI as well. And actually it's a widely used pattern, and like many production apps also use this, but then I don't think so we really need it at this point of time. Coming back to our Firebase, I'm just checking what email we had for the user. So it's sample@gmail.com. We can just copy it out from here. We could go sign in. We can add a password was password itself. We could do sign in, and hopefully it signs us in. Or how about we go back to our settings view, we go a sign out, and it resets us back to the authentication view. So that was the requirement from our end, and we have actually fixed this. Coming back to our code once, let's just go through what all we did. Just for simplicity's sake, we added a custom view, and then we are calling that function here inside the navigation stack. We are assigning the navigation stack a unique identifier each time it's initialized, each time the app is launched. And also we have a onReceive modifier for our isAuthenticated publisher, which then gets a boolean value because isAuthenticated is of the type bool. And then if it checks that if authenticated is false, it just gives us a print message just for our own debugging purposes. And then it assigns the root view a new unique identifier, which forces the navigation stack to reset itself. So when this view is refreshing itself, it calls this functionality again, then it checks for this value again, and obviously we signed out, so that means is authenticated would be false, and thus we land to the auth view. So yeah, this was it for this video, and now we would move forward and make UI inside our user profile view, and then we will slowly start working with creation of a user in Firebase Firestore as well, so that we could have functionalities like the user ID and everything slowly into our application. So thank you, and in case you have any doubts, you could just leave your comments down there, and I would be happy to help you. Thank you.